Much has been made of the downfall of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Much has been made of the pitfalls of Pixar. And Walt Disney Animation Studios, well, they can't do much better. But Marvel and the MCU, we would be at fault if we were not showing you that something is happening there as well. A crash is occurring. Secret Invasion is remaining largely a secret because, well, nobody's watching it. And we'll dive into the statistics right now. All right, folks, welcome back to another wonderful day, another opportunity to explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. It is a joy each time you elect to join us. We are so happy to have you. Joining me to talk about what is going on with Marvel's latest Disney Plus streaming show, Secret Invasion, we have Jonas J. Campbell, investigative reporter for ThatParkPlace.com. Jonas, welcome back.
Good to be here. What a bright and shining morning we're in.
That's right. It's always shining somewhere, even if the clouds are blocking it temporarily, but those go away. Well, folks, as we get into this kind of content, if you enjoy it, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Today, we are going to Google Trends. And why are we going there? Well, we're going there to show you that something is very different when it comes to some of the shows that have been coming out on Disney Plus. We are currently looking at a chart for The Mandalorian. Now, why are we starting with The Mandalorian? Because we need to set the context here. And Jonas, what we're looking at is, for the lifespan of The Mandalorian Season 3, we can see that its peak in terms of online searches, which, by the way, is a great indicator for how popular something is, right? Because people are searching for it, they want to know more about it, etc. But we can see that it peaked out on its very first episode. That's not good. You want to end well. But it declined then, dropped to its lowest point during that third season to 62% of its total searches in its highest level. But then it came back up again as the season concluded and came all the way back up to 86%. Now, Jonas, the interesting thing about this is that with The Mandalorian, Season 3 was by far the most poorly received season for the show, and we know that Disney lost hundreds of thousands of subscribers out of North America alone during the quarter in which The Mandalorian was playing. In other words, although this chart does not look terrible, folks just know this was not a good season. It did not have good results. So this is not a great look for The Mandalorian in terms of what you would want to see. You would want to see interest rising.
Right.
And yet, it's not abysmal.
Right. Just for context, Season 2 ended with the Luke Skywalker reveal, and this one ended with, I don't know, well, I'm not going to spoil the ending itself, but there was an appearance by Jack Black and Lizzo to the point where people were wondering if they were releasing a parody of The Mandalorian. But no, it was genuine clips from the show.
That's exactly right. Now, let's go take a look at what Secret Invasion is doing, and you're going to see something very different. Folks, what you are looking at right now is what we call a dive off of a cliff, and it seems to me that there is no return. Well, just like what we saw with The Mandalorian, this had its peak at the release of its first episode, 100% of course, and then it has dropped precipitously ever since. By the time the second episode came out, what do we have? Well, we had 44 and 46% in that 48-hour period. Of course, this is not expanded as long out as we have with The Mandalorian, so this is more condensed, so we're down to just days here rather than weeks. But this thing had dropped below 50% of interest just from episode 1 to episode 2. By the time we get to the last day that we have aggregated statistics for Google Trends, that is, how many people are searching for this item online, Secret Invasion is already down to 23% of its initial interest. Jonas, this is unsustainable for the show. Talk to me for a moment. Why do you think that people have absolutely tuned out of Secret Invasion to the point that I think these articles that are covering the show probably have something like 0 readers?
Yeah,
because there are 0 viewers.
I would believe that, and of course we take a risk here because we want to cover the news, but also we do have bills to pay here.
And we could be doing an Indiana Jones video, and we could be doing another Kathleen Kennedy video. But at the same time, we have to keep people ahead of the culture curve. It's what we it's what we project here on the channel, and this needs to be said. Nobody else is really covering this yet, but I mean, the viewership for this show has absolutely dropped out of the bottom.
Right. And to tie it back to the Indiana Jones conversation, the conversation that is being had, and this is organic. This is not because we want to tie it back in, but the discussion of whether Disney marketing is doing their job. And Disney marketing has seen quite a few cuts in several regions. Right now, Secret Invasion is a difficult to summarize show unless you are fully familiar with what is going on in the MCU right now. And I almost don't even want to venture to get into the concepts of the Skrulls and Captain Marvel and where Nick Fury has been and all of that. And then you start the show. I did watch the first episode. It is difficult. It is not memorable. And usually
it's
I don't.
Boring.
Yes, it is. It is boring. And I wouldn't say they Jake Skywalkered Samuel L. Jackson's character, but he's not the fun, mysterious super spy that we know from Avengers. And every other time he's shown up and just, he's been his cool, capable self. Now he's falling behind. He doesn't know what's going on. He's losing agents. And not in a dramatic way. And just like, oh, I guess that one died. No disrespect to the actress who's there, but they have not done a good job with this show, despite having some impeccable talent on screen.
Well, Jonas, one of the reasons that we cover this topic when we do is because we're trying to get ahead of everything. We are trying to relay what will be the news of tomorrow. And so we believe that in the next weeks, you're going to be hearing about the collapse of Marvel and the MCU. Now, why do we believe that? Well, the viewership for this thing is sinking down below what you could usually even imagine. I mean, a loss of this kind of percentage of interest online in just 3 episodes is remarkable. But this is also a show that could portend what happens with the Marvels later this year, and also with the MCU shows and movies that we'll be watching supposedly next year. So at the same time that we're watching these other segments of Disney collapse, well, guess what? Folks, Marvel is doing the same thing. This is something that we need to be talking about before the mainstream catches wind of it. So, Jonas, is all of this tied together at Disney, or is each one of these parts somehow failing in dramatic fashion in their own way?
I think they are all symptoms of the same disease at the heart of Disney, that they've lost track of the primary edict, which is to entertain people at your entertainment company, to keep their interest, to never take the audience for granted. It boggles my mind that they have 100% of their interest, the peak interest right at the start of their show, and then a week later dropping to 50%, and then a week after that, 50% of that. Next week, are they going to have 12%, or have they hit the bottom here on this show? I'm seeing more people online talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, a show that is, let's say, controversial and includes a lot of hate watching.
What I think is going to happen, Jonas, is I think that when Nielsen comes out with the very first ratings for Secret Invasion, it's going to do fairly well. And that's going to drive quite a bit of articles being written, dismissing what we're saying here. And then what will happen is that if the viewership correlates with the Google searches of people, online wanting to find out more about the show, then those same outlets will probably not follow up on the next episodes as that viewership craters.
I think that Disney would be better served at this point if the figures are what we think they're going to be. I'm just going to take a guess. I don't usually do box office predictions well, so I'm going to do a streaming prediction. I'm going to predict less than 300 watch minutes. Why do I say that? Because I think Flamin' Hot, Eva Longoria's directorial debut, is about at that number on the Nielsen streaming ratings right now. If they don't do better than Flaming Hot, I'm going to say maybe you need to be focusing more on things like that, as opposed to yet another sci-fi epic that is going to get lost in the folds.
Well, let's take a look at why this matters so much, Jonas. This is an article out of IGN by Jesse Sheeden. It says, How Secret Invasion Episode 3 Sets Up Armor Wars. Says that Secret Invasion is a series built around the question, who do you trust? Nick Fury has a dwindling list of allies, and it's becoming harder and harder to tell who's real and who's a Skrull imposter. That's especially true after Episode 3. which ends with the apparent reveal that Don Cheadle's James Rhodes is secretly a Skrull. And this article goes on to explain, that this show is revealing all of these huge setups for the MCU, and that this is going to build into, the X-Men. It's going to build into Armor Wars and all kinds of stuff that should be exciting. And there's just one problem, Jonas. Nobody's watching this.
Yeah.
So none of this setup will matter. And that means that when people go to the theaters to watch these things, they're going to say, what in the world? When did this happen? And frankly, I worry that people won't go to the theaters at all, considering nobody's watching this in the first place.
They have a continuity issue here, anyways, and they've gotten into the habit of forcing people to do homework before arriving. Iron Man 2 we would crave an Iron Man 2 now. It was derided as lesser back in the day, but at the same time,
yes, that really is where we are, Jonas. We would love an Iron Man 2. That would be an improvement over what we've been getting.
And I'll say it, I love Iron Man 2. I personally think it's a great step in Tony Stark's arc.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, notwithstanding, that was a good movie. But yeah, continue on.
Lost track of my thought there for a second. The fact that you could show up to Iron Man 2 and while you might not catch every single detail, you could still enjoy the movie without having to know everything about Iron Man 1, other than there's a guy, he has armor. We're getting to the point now where I guess they're trying to do a political thriller of some kind, and you have to know who all these people are in order to care whether or not they are Skrulls.
Well, it's going to take 30 minutes of exposition, Jonas. It's going to be like previously on a series on Disney Plus nobody watched in other MCU films. And it's going to be 30 minutes of explaining to you what the heck you're about to watch.
Right. And not to get into a super deep conversation about phase 1 and 2 of the MCU, but there was a gradual shifting of context. They did not stick the landing with the shifting of context to include the Skrulls and shape-shifting aliens that want to come to Earth and take over, or maybe they just want to be refugees or whatever. They did not do a good job of adding that context into the Marvel Universe. So every time one of these people shows up, it just looks weird. And it's like, huh? What? Did I miss something?
And not only that, Jonas, but think about this. So they've already moved the Marvels from its original release date. Now they've pushed it back into November. They clearly should be worried about this. If Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny cannot draw audiences, then do you really believe that the Marvels will? Oh, come on.
Oh, no.
But
no.
Now this looks even worse, because the lead-in show that's supposed to get us all excited about it apparently has had, like, people jumping out of windows trying not to tune in each week.
I just can't see any of this going anywhere. I mean, the Marvels were very focused on the Marvels as the next big Disney release, and the word we're hearing out of the Disney offices is that it's a given that it's not going to do that well. Which who knows what's going to happen when we see the real marketing start? Some of the signs of marketing coming out of there right now are, let's say, bargain basement, not great promotional materials. And they'll have 3 characters that they don't want any of them to be hot women. And so far, they haven't done a good job of establishing any of those characters as likable. All the ingredients that you need for a great blockbuster film are not there with the Marvels. And Secret Invasion being the lead up to the Marvels, whatever they're doing with the show, they may accomplish something great as far as the narrative goes. They don't have what they need in order to get the audience ready to see it. I just don't care what happens with this show. And I was an MCU diehard. I would watch the entire MCU on repeat, marathon watching, because I love the little details. I love the story. It was fun. It was engaging. There was lots to theorize about. And now at this point, they are just saying, oh, well, Nick Fury was up in space doing something. I don't care what he did, because they haven't put in the work. There are so many things that you could say, well, what happened here? I don't care. Nobody cares, because they're not doing anything interesting with it. Whatever it is, they're going to come back and they're going to make it into some screed about the current political environment. If you're going to do that, do it veiled. Don't do it right in your face. It's just boring. No one wants to be lectured to, and especially in these dark settings that kind of maybe look like a British spy thriller, But really, all it is they're just walking around on screen, not doing super things and not doing interesting things and not saying clever lines. I like just move on. Stop wasting this talent and do something interesting with it.
Now, Jonas, not fully related, but somewhat, you've gotten a bit of info about Disney executives and perhaps their disdain for some of the marketing that they've had to drive by as they've been going to work. Can you tell us a little bit about that story? I think it's funny, and I suspect that perhaps Secret Invasion billboards may be coming down soon as well. Tell us a little bit about what you've got.
All right, I got reached out to by a compatriot here, somebody that's been on the channel. We discussed Indiana Jones 5 billboard being taken down in a prominent place in Los Angeles, a great street. Anyways, I got a little heads up.
Sepulveda, right?
Yes, Sepulveda. I knew I couldn't pronounce it, so I didn't want to attempt it. So apparently those billboards are placed in a way that the people in the movies and the people that have paid for the movies and the executives in charge of them will be driving, say, by these billboards on the way to work to be reminded of the great job that they did and to make it feel like they have the support of the studio, because Los Angeles marketing is different than everywhere else in the world, because the Los Angeles people know that movie stars and the people that work with them will be seeing this, so they want to make it look big. If they're going to make it look big anywhere, they're going to make it look big in Los Angeles, because it's going to create this perception that their talent is treated well, their talent is valued. Well, we see now that the Indiana Jones 5 billboard is already coming down before the end of a week, meaning that maybe this is just speculation, that an executive does not want to be reminded of Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny as they're on their way into work, because there might be
it's a painful reminder.
Right. So with Secret Invasion, if there's somebody, and again, we're not trying to rag on anybody. If somebody is super proud of Secret Invasion, maybe they won't want to be reminded of it sometime soon. If the same kind of conversations we're hearing about from inside of Disney are happening regarding Marvel Studios productions as they are about Lucasfilm productions, that would be painful, and I would want to hide if I was in that circumstance.
I would imagine at this point that every red light that could be blinking at the control panel of Disney must be blinking. Valiant Renegade did that tally of exactly what the losses for Disney would be, and this was pre-Indiana Jones, talking about just the box office numbers that went quite viral, was all over the mainstream media, all over cable news. This morning, I noticed that Megyn Kelly is now covering it, and those numbers were something like $900 million in box office losses. You add in Indy, you're probably looking at about $1.2 billion. You add in the Marvels, this could just be an awful sort of a year. And folks, the crazy thing about this is that Disney was flying high for so long. They created great content that people really and truly loved. And it is just amazing that when you get away from good storytelling and when you get away from the values of your consumers, you can fall very, very fast. And that's really the lesson that's being learned. I don't know how quickly they can make changes. I don't know if Iger is even able to make the changes, but changes are needed indeed. And we're trying to keep all of you ahead of the culture curve by revealing to you that indeed the ratings for this show, Secret Invasion, are dropping precipitously. All right, Jonas, final thoughts, and tell us where we can find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there.
One thing I'll add to that box office thing that you were just saying, the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness figures have been updated to include an extra 100 million on that budget. So those numbers are even higher than we were thinking before. You can find me at That Park Place, where I'm an investigative reporter. You can find me here on the Pro Show, Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I have a channel with my name on it that releases videos detailing everything woke about content aimed at underage people. Today, actually, I'm talking about WandaVision videos dropping today. And yes, there are Skrulls in that one too, but I bet you forgot, because that's kind of where Disney is at. Forgot that there are Skrulls in there, that is.
That is where Disney is at. You could say that perhaps the storytelling is bloated, but in my opinion, good storytelling is memorable either way. Well, folks, we hope this video has been memorable for all of you. If it is, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Also, conversation between Jonas and myself has come to an end, but now the commentary begins. We covet your comments. We care about what you think. Please drop one down below. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?